Fired up to dance, a millionaire's mockery exposed as a humble cleaner's incredible talent shines. Grace's heart thundered as she wiped down the last of the hotel room's polished surface. It was a room that overlooked the shimmering skyline, a view so pristine, yet it felt foreign as she caught a glimpse of herself reflected in the glass. Dirt smudged her hands, the scent of bleach filled her nostrils, and the weight of her life as a single mother settled heavily on her shoulders. But as the music from the floors below floated into her mind, she dreamt of another world, a world where her feet could fly on a stage, not trapped on the bare floors of an upscale hotel. Lily was her light, her 6-year-old daughter bursting with dreams much bigger than their tiny apartment. "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a dancer," she chirped with glimmering eyes, spinning in pirouettes all around their cramped living room. Grace smiled, but inside, her heart ached. She'd once aspired to be a dancer too, but life had taken her on a different path, a path of scrubbing floors and folding linens in the shadows. The sound of laughter rang out from a group of well-dressed guests that strutted through the lobby, and her gaze fell on Jordan, a wealthy socialite who dismissed her with a glance. His arrogance stung, but she bore it like a wound unacknowledged, knowing her worth didn't come from their opinions. As her gaze met Mr. Thompson, her elderly neighbor, he nodded knowingly. He served not only as a neighbor but as a mentor, urging her to resurrect the rhythm she buried under layers of responsibility. "Grace, you still have it. The talent, the passion. You should enter the talent show coming up." The spark in his eyes ignited a tiny flame of hope within her, flickering yet fierce against the bastion of doubt. Could I? She pondered, the thrill of possibility coursing through her, only to be doused by worry. What if I fail? Days passed, and the thought of reuniting with her dreams became harder to shake off. But then, the final blow from Jordan came. In front of his friends, he bet that he could ruin the night, laughing at Grace's potential as if she were nothing more than furniture in that grand hotel. Her gut clenched tight, the mix of humiliation and anger rising fiercely. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The night of the talent show arrived, and as Grace stood backstage, her heart slammed against her ribcage. She scanned the audience, a sea of expectant faces mixed with those of judgment. The music began, a soulful melody that stirred something deep within her. The stage lights heralded her like an old friend, calling her forward. At that moment, she could hear Mr. Thompson's voice, echoing in her heart. As she stepped into the spotlight, electric pulses ran through her veins. The audience fell silent, breaths caught in anticipation. Just as she began to move, her foot snagged the edge of the stage. Time stood still. Would this stumble define her, or could she rise again? The crowd gasped, their eyes wide with expectation. In that one heartbeat, Grace had to decide, would she collapse under the weight of judgment or reclaim the stage that had long been hers? The answer trembled at her lips. She could almost taste freedom, her dreams painted in vibrant hues, but what would happen next remained tantalizingly uncertain. Grace's heart raced like a wild stallion, the air thick with expectancy. The moment felt surreal, a collision of hope and fear dancing around her like warring shadows. She could feel the embarrassment creeping in, the weight of Jordan's cruel laughter echoing in her mind, but alongside it, another feeling flickered, a defiant spark igniting her resolve. In that breathless moment, her instincts kicked in. She remembered Lily's twirling, the unfiltered joy in her daughter's eyes as she dared to dream. With a deep inhale, Grace let go of doubt and stepped forward, her body moving instinctively to the music that enveloped her. The moment was electric. Grace soared into the dance, each movement fueled by years of hidden yearning. She spun and twirled, letting the rhythm take control. As her confidence blossomed, she could almost see the audience transform. What once seemed critical became captivated. Their murmurs shifted from skepticism to awe, and she could feel their engagement filling the space around her. The music embraced her, weaving its way through her heart, pulling out the dancer she had long forgotten. With every beat, she channeled all the struggles and sacrifices, all the laughter and dreams of both her and Lily. Grace danced for herself, for her daughter, and for every moment she had set aside in the name of responsibility. Then, as if fate had a hand in her story, one final leap drew applause from the crowd, a heartfelt roar that filled her with warmth. The realization washed over her like a wave. This was her chance, her moment of redemption, and she was claiming it. As she landed softly, the world around her exploded into cheers and claps, a chorus of validation reverberating in her ears. Grace stood center stage, breathing heavily, her heart pounding with exhilaration. For the first time in years, she felt whole, alive. When she caught Mr. Thompson's proud smile from the corner of her eye, it sent a surge of gratitude through her. This was more than a performance, it was a celebration of her spirit. But just as she thought she had risen above, a familiar smirk caught her attention. Jordan leaned against the back wall, arms crossed, sneering at her triumph as if attempting to summon the power he thought belonged to him alone. The sight of him twisted her stomach, but instead of shying away, it ignited something deeper within her. With her chin lifted high, she maintained eye contact. It was a silent acknowledgement of their shared past, but also a declaration of her strength. Was she willing to let him overshadow her triumph? The anger coursed through her veins as she recognized his contempt for what she had achieved. The applause echoed around her as she moved to the forefront, captivated by the moment, but still painfully aware of the walls that separated success from torment. Suddenly, the prospect of the next chapter loomed large. Grace had risen, but would Jordan allow her to stay there? What if he aimed to sabotage her newfound joy, like a storm threatening to drown out the sunlight? As she exited the stage, the weight of that uncertainty loomed over her. The path that lay ahead glimmered with hope, but it was a winding road, one that could easily twist back into shadows. In the midst of the applause, Grace felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. Could she truly outrun the judgment of those who wished to see her fail? And in raising her dreams from the ashes of despair, would she be strong enough to protect them? The night had sparked her fire, but would it be enough to keep it burning? As Grace stepped off the stage, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins, she felt a mix of triumph and dread. The applause faded into background noise, replaced by her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. She searched for Lily in the crowd, wanting to share this moment, but anxiety clawed at her insides. What if Jordan had already worked his nasty magic? She cut through the throng of people, eager to find a glimpse of her daughter's beaming face. The air buzzing around her felt heavy with potential, but also laced with tension. The elation of her performance still energized her, and she held on to it tightly, unwilling to let Jordan's presence snuff it out. Suddenly, a voice sliced through the crowd. "Did you see that? Unbelievable. She thinks she's actually good." It was Jordan, loud, proud, and sharp. His words stung like a bee, intended to pierce her newly found light. Grace's stomach twisted. She forced her body to keep moving while ignoring the shame that threatened to creep in. She picked up her pace, her feet rushing as if they could carry her away from his scorn. This was her night, she had to remind herself of that. Then, she spotted Lily dancing in place near the entrance, her little arms swaying in the air with the rhythm of the lingering music. Grace's heart swelled. Her daughter was glowing, radiating innocence and joy. There stood the spark she had ignited on stage and the very reason she had fought for this moment. "Mom!" Lily cried, running towards her like a ray of sun cutting through dark clouds. The bond between them shone brighter than the dimmer shadows left by Jordan's words. Grace knelt, scooping Lily into her arms, lifting her high above the ground. "You were amazing." Lily squealed. "You danced like a princess." Grace's chest tightened with pride. If only her little girl could see her mother as a warrior, not just a performer. "You believe that?" Grace asked, holding her daughter close, Finsagy as if she could absorb all of that youthfulness into her being. "Of course. And the crowd loved you. At that moment, Grace made a silent vow. The fears that hovered in her mind like storm clouds wouldn't take hold this time. She was determined. But just then, the crowd's laughter retreated, and she heard a distant voice. Jordan was heading toward them, swaggering with confidence, face twisted in a mocking grin. "Looks like your little fan is here to cheer you on, Grace," he sneered. Lily turned to look. "Who is he?" Before Grace could respond, Jordan stepped closer, maintaining his facade of superiority. "Just a sweet little girl supporting her mom's interesting performance." His words dripped with condescension, designed to tear down what Grace had built. "Stop it," Grace said, voice firm. She couldn't let him spoil this moment. The pride she felt had turned into a protective heat inside her. "You don't know anything about us." "Oh, but I do," Jordan shot back with cold amusement, his eyes narrowing. "I know how desperate you are to make people forget who you really are." Her resolve hardened. "Maybe you should stop worrying about me and focus on your own life." He stepped back, his grin faltering for a split second. Then it returned, insistent and malicious. "We'll see how well that holds up. Can't wait for the story to unfold." Grace took a breath, aware that every word he spoke held potential. She glanced down at Lily, who regarded Jordan with wide, curious eyes. There was no way she would let him poison her daughter's perception. Not tonight. As he began to back away, she felt a mix of fear and determination. How could she defend her family's dreams when the world so often sided with doubt? Perhaps it was time to move from defense to offense. With newfound strength, Grace whispered to Lily. "Let us go home, sweetie. We have a lot to celebrate." But her mind was already racing, thinking of the next steps. Could she confront Jordan decisively? What exactly did he mean about the story yet to unfold? As they made their exit, determination enveloped Grace. Tomorrow, she would not just defend her newfound confidence, she would build upon it. And she would fight for it for herself and for Lily. The night had ignited something fierce within her, but could she keep the flames from flickering out? Would she be able to handle the storm brewing before her? The drive home felt electric. Grace held Lily's hand tightly, her heart still buzzing from the performance. The road stretched ahead, illuminated by the faint glow of the streetlights. After everything, she had faced Jordan's acidic comments, and yet, here she was free, in the moment. The soft hum of the car engine matched the rhythm of her thoughts, advancing steadily toward what was next. Lily, bubbly and still riding the high of excitement, chattered about how she loved the part when Grace twirled, the way the lights caught her dress. Each word felt like a tiny affirmation, a welcome reminder of why she had fought so hard to reclaim her dreams. "I wish I could dance like you," Lily said, her voice bright and innocent. Grace smiled. "You can, sweetheart. You just need to believe in yourself." The moment stilled. For a heartbeat, time hung, and Grace was grateful Lily didn't sense the darker thoughts creeping in. How could she explain to her daughter the shadow of Jordan's lingering doubt, or the fear that maybe his words were true? Instead, she squeezed Lily's hand, reigniting the bond between them with love and affirmation. This wasn't just a hobby, this was a path she needed to explore. When they finally arrived home, the living room greeted them like an old friend, warm and familiar. The decorations, remnants of another time in their lives, offered a backdrop of comfort. Grace enabled the soft glow of the lamp to bathe the room in golden light. It transformed the ordinary space, creating a sanctuary. "Let us celebrate," she announced, pulling out the box of cookies they had made together that morning. Lily's face lit up, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Cookies and a dance party. They danced around the kitchen, laughter echoing off the walls as they twirled and spun amid the aromas of vanilla and chocolate. Grace watched her daughter, captivated by the sheer joy radiating from her tiny frame. There was a resilience in that joyous spirit that said the world couldn't dull their shine, but in the back of her mind, the words from earlier hung like a warning. The story to unfold. What did that even mean? After their impromptu celebration, as Lily settled into bed surrounded by stuffed animals, Grace tucked her in. She paused, the moment filled with tender silence. "Sweet dreams, my little princess," she whispered, brushing a strand of hair behind Lily's ear. As she turned off the light, Grace's heart felt heavy. She sat in the dim hallway, the shadows creeping around her like an unwelcome blanket. Jordan's haunting words replayed in her mind, taunting her from the corners of the room. She wished for clarity, for guidance, anything to dispel the ominous undercurrent of impending dread. Suddenly, her phone vibrated on the table, breaking the stillness. With a quick glance, she saw a message from an unexpected number: "Meet me tomorrow for coffee. We need to talk." A name flashed in her mind, one of her old dance friends. Why would they want to see her after all this time? Curiosity ignited within her, overshadowing the earlier shadows. Could this be the turning point she needed? And what new revelations were waiting for her just around the corner? As sleep washed over the house, Grace clung to the flickering flame of determination. What lay ahead was still a mystery, but she was ready to face it, whatever it may entail. A wave of excitement pulsed through her veins. Tomorrow, she would embrace whatever came her way, ready to turn this page into the next chapter of her story. Maybe, just maybe, her journey had only just begun. What could this message reveal, and how would it shape her fight against the negativity still looming around her? Morning light spilled softly through the kitchen window as Grace brewed a cup of coffee, the scent curling around her like a warm embrace. Her phone lay nearby, its silence a stark contrast to her swirling thoughts. Who could it be? Why now? She took a deep breath, hoping for clarity in the midst of excitement. Lily padded into the room, her hair tousled, eyes still heavy with sleep. "Mom, can I have a cookie for breakfast?" Grace chuckled, shaking her head. "How about a healthy breakfast first? Then we can have cookies later." Lily pouted, then smiled broadly, her innocence charming in the morning light. "Okay, but just one cookie later, right?" Grace agreed, grateful for Lily's laugh, which cut through her lingering worries. They settled at the table together, the flickering light catching the edges of their laughter like a dancer's twirl. The joy felt tangible, propelling Grace forward, igniting a spark in her chest. As Lily recounted tales of her dreams from the night before, dancing on clouds with unicorns, Grace's phone vibrated again. Her heart raced, thoughts racing. Was it time for that coffee meeting? She took a quick glance. A message had popped up: "I'll meet you at the cafe across from the theater. 10 a.m. Sarah. Sarah." The name brought a flood of memories, the laughter, the shared dreams, the late-night talks about performances yet to come. Why had they lost touch? Grace couldn't ignore the charge that filled her at the thought of reconnecting with someone who understood her passion. "Lily, my sweet girl, I have to go meet someone for coffee," Grace said, giving her a quick squeeze on the shoulder. "Can I come?" Lily brightened, looking up with big hopeful eyes. Grace hesitated, knowing it might not be the right place for her daughter. "How about you spend some time with Grandma? You can show her the dance moves you learned." Lily's face lit up at the idea, her energy infectious. "Yes. Grandma loves to watch me dance." Grace smiled at her daughter's excitement, thrilled that they could turn a regular day into something special. After breakfast, she quickly got dressed, her head buzzing with questions. What did Sarah want? Did she know about the performance? As she parked outside the cafe, butterflies danced wildly in her stomach. It felt surreal to be back here, in this familiar spot, where everything had once seemed possible. The place was bustling, with the aroma of coffee mixing with the chatter of patrons. When she stepped inside, Grace's gaze searched the room until it landed on Sarah, who still had the same enchanting smile. "Grace!" she cried, waving her over. They hugged, and Grace felt a warmth rise within her. "Wow, it's been way too long," Grace said, taking a seat. "How have you been?" Sarah's eyes sparkled, revealing the kind of joy that could only come from shared memories. Busy, but good. I've been watching your performances online. You've really blossomed. Grace felt a flush of warmth at the compliment. Thanks, though I've been facing some, challenges lately. Like what? Sarah leaned in, concern etched in her expression. Before Grace could answer, their conversation spiraled into a fiery discussion about dreams, fears, and the daunting pressure that sometimes came from those who doubted their talents. Did you ever get courage from people believing in you? Grace asked, feeling the vulnerability spill over. Absolutely. It's what got me through my struggles. Sarah paused and then added, what if we brainstorm some ideas for your next performance? Grace's heart soared. Could this be the support she had been craving? In that moment, something in her clicked. But before she could voice her excitement, Sarah's phone buzzed on the table. She frowned, glancing at the screen. Her expression shifted, and attention filled the air. Oh no, I have to take this, she said softly. Grace watched Sarah step away, a sudden weight pressing on her heart. Maybe this meeting wouldn't go as planned after all. What news was Sarah receiving, and how would it affect their rekindled connection? As she sipped her coffee, Grace couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A storm of emotions rumbled within her, begging to be recognized. Just as Sarah returned, looking pale, Grace knew this was just the beginning. It felt like doors were opening but also like shadows were creeping back in. What had broken into their reunion? How would the revelation reshape their conversation? Grace braced herself, ready to uncover the truth. Sarah returned to the table, her eyes wide but heavy, like she had just seen a ghost. Grace felt the weight of the moment as she set her coffee down and leaned in, her heart pounding. What is it? She asked, concern etching each word. It's about my brother, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. He's been in an accident. They just called me. The world around Grace blurred for an instant. Her coffee cup felt cold in her hands as she processed the news. Oh no, is he okay? Sarah shook her head, her brow furrowed with worry. They're saying he's in critical condition. I might have to leave town. Grace's heart sank. I'm so sorry, Sarah. Do you want me to help? No, I can't think about that right now. Sarah rubbed her temples, her composure fraying. I've got to get to the hospital. The moment was heavy, a shift that turned their coffee meeting from potential dreams to the stark reality of fear. Grace could feel helplessness creeping in, clenching her chest. This wasn't what she had envisioned when they finally met again. Do you want me to go with you? She offered, fear gripping her like a vice. You shouldn't be alone. Sarah looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. That means a lot, Grace, but you've got Lily. I don't want to put you out. I'll call Grandma. Lily will be fine. Grace pushed through the doubt, wanting to be there for her friend but also feeling the tug of her own responsibilities. But before Sarah could respond, a deep sigh broke from her lips. The thing is, Grace, my brother and I haven't spoken in years. I don't know how to face him. Or what to say. Grace felt a shared heaviness. The fear of loss tugged painfully at her heart. You'll know what to say. You're stronger than you think. Am I? Sarah's voice cracked. What if it's too late? Then, a thought crossed Grace's mind, flickering like a candle in the dark. You know, I've always admired how you faced tough moments. Remember that time on stage when you forgot your lines? You just sang instead. That was magic. Sarah managed a small smile, even through the tears. That was a disaster, but it turned into something beautiful. Just like this could, right? You can bring love back into the situation. Just hold on to that. For a moment, Grace felt a renewed energy pass between them, a connection fortified by vulnerability. They could be each other's strength in times of strife. The cafe buzzed around them, life continuing as though untouched by their storms. Grace's mind raced with thoughts of Sarah's brother. What kind of man had he become? Was there still love in the cracks of their estrangement? I wish you could come with me, Sarah said, her voice softer now. I'd feel less scared, less alone. I'll be with you in spirit, Grace promised, feeling a swell of determination. Just remember all you've faced in your life. Lean into that. As they stood to leave, the air shifted. Grace felt a spark of hope ignite within her. She could see Sarah gathering her strength, a spirit reluctant but ready to face the fight ahead. Standing outside the cafe, Grace grabbed Sarah's hand. Text me when you can. I'll be right here. With a solitary nod, Sarah started to walk away, her silhouette fading into the crowd, a warrior preparing for battle. Grace turned and made her way back to her car, the weight of the world now rested on her shoulders. An unsettling promise loomed above her, shadows tucked away until they had to be faced. What would become of their friendship in the aftermath? What revelations awaited them, and would they rise above the storms together? As she drove, the question echoed louder in her mind, feeding an impatient anticipation. Would Sarah's brother awaken to find reconciliation, or was it too late for healing? And what would Grace discover about her own journey along the way? The hum of the car engine filled the silence as Grace navigated through the streets, her mind swirling with thoughts that seemed to form and dissolve like clouds in the sky. Each stoplight felt unbearably long, her heart racing as she thought of Sarah's brother. What if things didn't go well? What if there were struggles no one could understand? These questions gnawed at her, haunting her like whispers in the night. When she finally arrived home, Grace grabbed her phone, anxiety coursing through her. She needed to keep her mind busy while waiting for any news. The little house sparkled in the late afternoon sun, a reminder of her own small victories, yet, today, it felt heavy, like a stage before the curtain rises. Lily dashed into the living room, her laughter ringing out like music. Grace watched her daughter happy, innocent, unaware of the storm brewing outside their four walls. Mom! Can we play the dance game? Lily begged, eyes bright with excitement. There it was, a moment of pure joy amidst the uncertainty. Sure, sweetie. Just give me a second, Grace said, forcing a smile as she scrolled through her phone, hoping for a message from Sarah. Minutes turned into an eternity. The sound of the game started to fill the room, a catchy tune tied to a spirited dance. But as she listened, a swirl of memories flooded her mind. There was a time not long ago when Sarah had joined them in their messy dance parties, her laughter blending with Lily's. Those moments felt like lifelines now, bridging the gap between the chaos of life and the comfort of friendship. Just when she felt she was losing hope, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah. Grace, he's awake. They say he's stable now. I'm still processing everything, but I will come back to you soon. Relief washed over Grace like a warm breeze on a chilly day. She let out a shaky breath, grateful tears pooling in her eyes. Suddenly, the weight on her shoulders felt lighter. Thank you, God, she whispered. Mom! Look, I'm a superstar. Lily twirled dramatically, arms spread wide. Grace couldn't help but chuckle, the surreal contrast of the little girl's carefree dance brightening her spirit. Absolutely, you are. Grace cheered, joining her daughter in the living room. As they leaped and twirled, letting laughter bubble uncontrollably, a pivotal thought flitted across Grace's mind. Dancing was more than just movement, it was a way to express, to release toxic energy, a deeper reflection of a moment shared. Just like Sarah had faced those tough moments on stage, maybe she too could channel that energy into something beautiful for both of them. In the middle of an exaggerated spin, Grace caught the shadow of her own fears creeping back. What if Sarah struggled with their history upon returning? What unspoken words lingered between them? A vulnerability sprang up. Would there still be a bridge built upon their friendship, or did past hurt hold only space for fresh wounds? Lily interrupted her thoughts. Mom! Dance with me. Grace took a deep breath, shaking off the shadows. "Alright, superstar. Let us show the world our best moves." With that declaration, they leaped into another round of uninhibited dancing, each moment a blend of laughter and music. A hidden relief simmered within Grace's heart. Dance was indeed magic, a remedy for the things unsaid. As the song faded and the laughter melded into the silence that followed, Grace felt a shift inside her. She had a path before her, one of healing, understanding, and a promise to be there for Sarah. But as she watched Lily, a new worry flickered. What if she was losing herself in the effort to support someone else? Taking a step back, she realized this journey began with them both. That day, she resolved to inspire not just Sarah's healing but her own as well, for each choice ripples out too many moments to be lost in regrets. Just then, her phone buzzed again. "Can I meet with you tomorrow?" It was Sarah, heart racing once more. Grace stared at the screen. This was the moment they had to face. Old wounds might be there, but maybe together, they could dance through it all. "Of course," Grace replied without thinking. But as she pressed send, she couldn't shake off the unease. Would their encounter push them closer or widen the gap further? Only time would tell. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow on the colorful breakfast table. Grace stood by the stove, her heart a mix of anticipation and nerves. Lily was humming a tune, her feet tapping rhythmically on the floor, blissfully unaware of anything beyond her dance. "Can we try out some new moves today, Mom?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Right before we meet Miss Sarah?" Grace turned, her heart swelling with love for the little girl. "Absolutely. We'll practice our best moves together." She tried to match Lily's enthusiasm, but the thought of seeing Sarah loomed larger than it should. Preparing breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, and fruit was almost meditative for Grace. Though she moved through the motions, her mind tugged at her like a stubborn child. Would Sarah feel like the same person when they met? Would all their shared memories come rushing back, or would they sit awkwardly, each waiting for the other to bridge the gap? The kitchen felt too quiet, each sound amplifying her worry. "Mom, hurry!" Lily urged, her voice breaking through Grace's thoughts. "I want to show you something after breakfast." All right. Just a few more minutes," Grace promised, her palms sweaty as she looked out the window. The day stretched ahead, filled with possibilities and uncertainties. As they finished breakfast, Grace caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. With a deep breath, she reminded herself of the importance of this meeting. It wasn't just about Sarah, it was about healing. It was about reclaiming the friendship that had faced trials. It was about looking forward, not backward. "I'm ready," Lily squealed, twirling around the house like a whirlwind. Grace couldn't help but laugh at her daughter's innocence. Suddenly, she felt lighter and more prepared for the day's challenges. They finished up and headed to the little park across the street, their hidden sanctuary. "Let us dance first, then we can go meet Sarah," Grace suggested, her voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. Twirling to the playful rhythm in her head, Grace and Lily danced, laughter echoing through the trees. For a moment, everything felt right. No worries, no fears, just the bliss of a carefree morning, but the moment was fleeting, as was the joy of dance without the weight of what lay ahead. The time ticked by, and soon it was almost time to meet Sarah. Grace's heart began to race again. What if she feels awkward around me? What if Grace caught herself spiraling into doubt. "Mom, are you okay?" Lily's innocent question jolted her back to reality. "Yes, sweetie. Just thinking, do you remember Miss Sarah's funny dance?" Grace smiled, recalling how the three of them had once been inseparable, laughing at each other's silly moves. Lily nodded vigorously. "She danced like a funny penguin." "Exactly. We'll make new memories today." Together, Grace replied, feeling strengthened by her daughter's belief. With Lily in tow, they began walking toward Sarah's place. Each step felt heavy, laden with old ghosts. The neighborhood buzzed with life, children laughing, dogs barking. Yet, Grace felt like she was locked in her own world, the noise fading into a distant hum. As they reached Sarah's doorstep, Grace took a deep breath. She could feel her heart thudding in her chest. What would she say? Had enough time passed to forgive? Lily tugged at her hands, adding a much-needed spark of hope. Mom, I want to dance when we see her. Grace grinned, squeezing Lily's hand. You're right. Let us do it. Before she could think twice, she knocked. The sound echoed down the quiet street, her heart racing faster than ever. The door swung open, revealing Sarah. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all their shared history washed over Grace like a tide. Hey, Grace, Sarah said, her voice a soft tremor. Hey. It's good to see you. As silence enveloped them, Grace felt the weight and warmth of old memories pressing at the edges of their new reality. But just as she opened her mouth to invite Sarah inside, Lily shouted, "Can we dance?" Grace's breath caught. The question hung there, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Would Sarah seize it? Dance? Sarah echoed, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. Yeah. Lily beamed, spinning around them both, completely unburdened by the weight of the moment. Grace's heart pounded as she held her breath, waiting to see if this could be their bridge back or the start of something new. Sarah paused, her eyes flickering between Grace and Lily. Did she remember the laughter they once shared? Did she want to step back into the past? Grace's pulse quickened as she watched hope flicker in her daughter's encouraging smile. It was as if Lily's innocence and excitement could mend the chasms in their lives. Sure, let us dance, Sarah said with hesitation, her lips curling into a tentative smile. There was a vulnerability in her voice that made Grace's heart ache a little, but it was a start. Yay! Lily jumped in delight, grabbing Sarah's hand and pulling her forward. Grace felt a surge of energy rush through her. This was it, the moment to break free from the past. She joined in, swirling around them, laughter bubbling up like they had never stopped dancing. Just like old times. They set up an impromptu dance party on the small patch of grass in front of Sarah's house. With each twirl and twist, the weight of the past felt lighter, displaced by the joy of simple movements and shared smiles. Grace glanced at Sarah. Gone was the tension from their earlier reunion. In its place, Sarah seemed to be rediscovering a spark of vitality. Grace, I forgot how much I loved this, Sarah said, her voice infused with warmth, as she mirrored Lily's playful moves. It felt like a shared language that only the three of them understood. Me too. Grace admitted, feeling the ghosts of doubt begin to fade, each laugh lifting the heaviness that had clung to her heart, but just then, a gust of wind swept through, swirling leaves around them, and with it, a reminder. The fractures of their friendship hadn't just been filled with laughter and dancing. This reunion was still brand new. Old hurts could bubble to the surface. After all this time, it's hard to believe we're here, Sarah said softly, her gaze dropping to the ground, eyes filled with unspoken questions. Grace felt her heart sink. I know. But Lily really wanted to bridge the gap, she said, her voice shaky but determined. I've missed this. Missed you. Lily continued to dance exuberantly, unaware of the undercurrents swirling around her. Things happened, Grace. Life changed, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. She glanced at Lily, then back at Grace. I never imagined we'd drift apart. Neither did I, Grace admitted, sorrow tightening her chest. But I want to try again if you do. The silence stretched, filled only by Lily's gleeful laughter. It was alive and unguarded, isolating their truth in a bubble. What would come next? Could they really move forward together? Let us just take it one step at a time, okay? Sarah said finally, a flicker of resolve igniting her words, slowly painting a path of hope through the uncertainty. Okay, Grace breathed, feeling lighter. But if we're doing this, we have to be honest, Sarah continued, grounding them as she glanced toward Lily. There's so much to catch up on. Grace nodded, accepting this newfound agreement. They could no longer dance around the past but instead had to dance through it together, finding a rhythm that worked for all of them. Lily shouted, "More dancing, Mom!" pulling them back into the moment, oblivious to everything else. Grace didn't care, she twirled again, feeling joy swell within her, igniting beams of laughter in every spin. Just as the atmosphere lightened, a loud voice cut through the day. "What's all this commotion?" A man's voice barked from across the street. Grace froze, her heart jumping as she recognized the intruder. Just as they were finding their harmony, would this unexpected arrival hit another sour note? Sarah's expression shifted. Oh no, and just like that, a new wave of uncertainty crashed upon them, leaving Grace to wonder what more could disrupt this fragile reunion. Would this day bring more joy, or would it deepen divides they were just beginning to heal? As the figure approached, Grace felt tension coil in her stomach. It was Jordan, his familiar arrogance evident as he eyed their small gathering with suspicion and disdain. What a sight to see. A little dance party in the middle of the day, huh? He sneered, crossing his arms. What, did you forget what real life is like? Grace's heart raced. Her instinct was to defend the joy blooming in front of her, to protect Lily from the harshness of his words. She glanced at Sarah, who looked equally tense. But then, in an instant, Grace felt an unfamiliar strength surge within her. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about creating a space where love triumphed over negativity. Jordan, Grace said, forcing herself to remain calm. This is not your place to comment, this is a moment for us. We're doing just fine without your input. Lily clung to Grace's leg, her innocent voice chiming in, Mommy and Miss Sarah and I are dancing. It's super fun. You should try it too. A flash of confusion crossed Jordan's face, but it quickly morphed into irritation. Fun? This is nothing but a waste of time. You really think this one tea catch up with you? Grace inhaled deeply, the warmth of Lily beside her infusing her with courage. What I think is that we deserve to celebrate our victories, no matter how small. You need to recognize there's more to life than your judgments. Not everything can be weighed by your standards. To her surprise, Sarah stepped forward beside her, adding, This is about reclaiming lost time, Jordan. It's about finding joy in the simplest moments amidst life's chaos. Jordan paused, faltering under their combined strength, but pushed back, his tone becomes more condescending. You think you can just dance your way through everything? Good luck with that. In that moment, Grace decided it was enough. There was no room for his negativity any longer. Look, if you're here just to belittle us, then maybe it's time for you to keep walking. You don't get to disrupt what we're building here. The air shifted as Jordan stared at them, his bravado beginning to crumble. He opened his mouth to retort, but something in Grace's eyes of fierce determination seemed to catch him off guard. With a huff, he finally muttered, whatever, and turned away, marching down the street, unsure of himself for once. Relief washed over Grace like a cleansing rain. She turned back to see Sarah, who smiled at her with newfound admiration. You were amazing. Thank you for standing your ground. I just had to, Grace said, her heart pounding. This is about all of us, especially Lily. I can't keep letting him define my happiness. Lily, blissfully unaware of the weight of the altercation, whipped around in a pirouette. Can we dance again now? She squealed. Yes. Let us keep dancing. Grace shouted, her spirit echoing the pure joy surrounding them, drowning out all the negative energy that had dared to intrude. The three of them jumped back into their dance, laughter intertwining with spins and twirls. It felt magical, liberating as they created their own universe, celebrating the power of friendship, resilience, and the dream of rediscovering lost connections. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting soft hues of orange and pink, Grace knew that beyond the shadows of doubt stood a brighter future. It wouldn't always be easy, and challenges would surface. But today, they had faced fear, confronted negativity, and emerged victoriously together. From now on, Grace declared between giggles, let us make this a weekly dance party. Sarah nodded eagerly. Count me in. We'll celebrate not just the small victories but the big ones too. Yay! Lily cheered, clapping her hands. With laughter ringing out like shimmering bells, the world transformed around them, stitching together their memories and offering hope for the journey ahead. They had rebuilt their bridge, and as the last rays of sunlight faded, Grace felt a newfound clarity. It would be a dance full of passion, enthusiasm, and love. They were all powerful dancers in their own right, moving forward in life together, stronger than ever before. This was a turning point, a new beginning. Now, my friends, the story is complete, and it has been a phenomenal journey. If you loved this, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second. Hit that bell and mark all notifications so you can stay tuned for more exclusive stories coming your way. And while you're at it, please leave a like now to help us connect with more amazing people. Share your reactions in the comments as well. I want to know how you feel about this incredible transformation. Finally, there's no better time than now to share this video. Share it instantly with at least 5 friends who need a dose of inspiration in their lives. Your support means everything. Let us keep the momentum going.